Hey friends, welcome back to my channel. Today's video is going to be all about what we are doing with the milk we are getting from our dairy cow. If you're new here, we brought a Jersey milk cow onto our homestead about a month and a half ago, and I have been milking her twice a day, every day since. Here you can see my two oldest teenagers that are still at home learning to milk her. Now, I'm sure I will get some comments about Owen being right behind her. Cows do not kick backwards, and she is a very well-trained cow who does not poop or pee while she is being milked. Now, we do not normally milk from behind, but he was just getting comfortable figuring out how to get the milk out of her teats. We are currently getting about 2.5 gallons a day, and one of those gallons is going to the calf until we wean her. But I wanted to show you these 3 half-gallon jars and where the cream line is in her milk. Jerseys are known for having a very high cream content, which is what is needed to make butter and many other delicious recipes. Some of these jars are more than half cream. It's pretty incredible. I'm looking forward to showing you what all we are doing with all of this milk and cream. When we have a really great cream line like we have in these 3 half-gallon jars, I had gotten into the habit of each morning skimming the cream, or at least some of it, off of the larger jars into quart jars. Now, this I end up using to make sour cream typically, or I may just save it and make butter at the end of the week. I kind of take it day by day to just see what we need and what's on the menu for the week. But right now I'm just going to skim off the cream in these jars since there is so much, and we'll set the quart jars aside in the fridge. And I do go ahead and label them with a Sharpie on the glass. It washes off just fine. And here you see I am scooping some of the cream directly into my KitchenAid mixer bowl because I'm going to make butter. You may already know this, but you can make butter with heavy whipping cream straight from the store. It is not economical, but it can be done. All you need to do is put your cream in. There are many methods of making butter, but the fastest and easiest way, in my opinion, is using an electric stand mixer. Now, I did end up covering this with a towel because I had it at way too high a speed because I was being impatient, and it was spraying everywhere. You can see here we've already passed the stage of whipped cream. And if you keep going after you pass whipped cream, then the cream becomes butter and it separates from the buttermilk. And you'll see here in just a second, look, now we've got these chunks of butter in the bowl, and the liquid that is left is buttermilk. So the first thing I'm going to do is gather up all of the butter chunks that are in the buttermilk and press them together and put them in some ice water. Because your hands are 98 degrees, the more you work the butter, the softer and runnier it becomes. But it's really important to squeeze as much of the buttermilk out of your butter solids as possible. The more buttermilk that you leave in, the faster it is going to go bad. And of course, you don't want your butter to go bad. So I'm getting all of the pieces out, and then I'm alternately working the butter, folding it over, and getting all of that excess buttermilk out, and then I put it back in the cold water and work the other pieces. One thing I forgot to film was salting our butter. Of course, you can use unsalted butter, but I always prefer to buy salted butter, and as I have begun making it at home, I add salt to that as well. The funny thing is, we use Redmond's Real Salt, which has quite a few colors in it. One is like a dark burgundy, one is kind of a brownish color, and so we do end up with like speckled butter, but let me tell you, it is delicious. This video is actually quite a few weeks old. This was the very first time that I made butter using our cream. We got about 11 ounces and I wrapped it in plastic wrap. I now have been using my silicone super cube molds. I stick the mold in the freezer, pop them out when they are fully solid, wrap them in plastic wrap, stick them in a gallon bag, and put it back in the freezer for storage. My goal is to not waste any of the byproducts of the milk. Of course, we can give any of it to our animals, but I decided to stick this buttermilk in a quart jar and put it in the freezer for later baking. My ultimate goal in having our own dairy cow is to eventually replace all of our store-bought dairy products with homemade dairy products. So the next thing I tried was a homemade coffee creamer recipe. My husband and teenage son really like the International Delight sweet cream. It used to be the Cold Stone sweet cream, and now they call it something a little different. I don't think they use Cold Stone name anymore. This recipe was super simple. You use a cup of milk, a cup of cream, 1 cup of sugar, although I believe it called for 2 and I did 1 instead, and a generous tablespoon of vanilla extract. This turned out okay, but my husband did say he didn't feel like it was sweet enough. So maybe because you're only using a few tablespoons of the actual creamer in your coffee, it does need that extra cup of sugar. So I might just add 1.5 cups next time and see if he notices the difference there. Or I may just go ahead and try a batch with 2 whole cups of sugar, which is a lot. I was able to pour about 2/3 of it into this salad dressing dispenser. I thought that was a good bottle to use for pouring into their coffee cups, and the rest I stored in a mason jar in the fridge. This would be good in the fridge for at least 10 days. Lastly, we are making sour cream. Now you just start with 1 quart of cream and you put it in a pan with water in it, which is considered a water bath, and you turn your heat up to medium. I stirred my cream gently as it heated up to make sure the heat was dispersing evenly, and you want it to come up to 100 degrees. It's really very similar to making homemade yogurt. As you can see here, it got right up to 100, and I did read that it was okay if it went a little bit above. But when mine reached 100 degrees, I took it off the burner. I took the jar out of the water bath, and I added 2 big tablespoons of sour cream. Just sour cream from the grocery store. It wasn't raw, it wasn't organic, just regular cheap sour cream. I whisked it in really well. I put the lid back on the jar and I left it on the counter close to the stove top so that it stayed fairly warm, and I left it there for a little over 24 hours. When that 24-hour period was up, I took the jar, I labeled it, and I stuck it in the fridge. You can see here that the texture was amazing, absolutely amazing. This is the best sour cream I have ever had. I was honestly a little concerned that the flavor might be too different for really my whole family possibly. I mean, it is definitely an adjustment to go to homemade raw ingredients that you are used to purchasing from the store, but I can tell you one thing, the sour cream was a huge hit. I have also made cream cheese as well as yogurt with using our raw milk, and I look forward to sharing that with you soon. Thanks so much for watching. This has been a really fun journey starting to learn how to use all of our fresh raw dairy. One thing I have also learned is that I need to label everything that goes in the fridge in a glass jar, because once it's been in there for a day or two, it all looks the same and I cannot remember what is what. Oh, I've also made mayonnaise, so I'll be sharing that also. Thanks for watching.